Exclusive contract novel from Feilu Novel Network. I, Shengtian, work in military industry for half of my life, and all the dogs in the village are equipped with guns. Even if you play against heaven, you must defeat heaven by half. Qi Wei found himself reborn in the 1990s, standing on the playground of his alma mater holding flowers, ready to confess to a woman. Coincidentally, the military industry system awakened, and he decided to change everything. I, Qi Wei, will never bow my head or kneel down in this lifetime. If there is no way, I will walk my own path. Leaving the flowers on the ground casually, Qi Wei turned around and left. The next day, he resigned from his institutional work and took over a private military factory on the brink of bankruptcy. In the 1990s, Mao Zedong fell apart and the domestic military industry was comprehensively upgraded. Qi Wei predicted international war, helped the country transform weapons, export military industry, and shocked the world with an international analysis article. Qi Wei is marching step by step, showing his ambitions, being domineering, playing big snipers, and embracing his beauty. Even opening military factories in their hometown and bringing their hometown elders to become rich together. Eagle sauce. Dragon country is so terrifying, even one of their dogs in Qijia Village is fully armed. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Playing with Heaven, Even Winning Half of Heaven. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Playing with Heaven, Even Winning Half of Heaven. The most famous university in Hanzhong Province is undoubtedly Hanzhong University of Political Science and Law. Hanzhong University, with a well-established political and business system, has produced many influential figures in the entire Chinese social system today. Therefore, this is a place that countless students dream of entering, and even in an era when relevant regulations were not yet perfect, an enrollment spot could be sold for a sky-high price. Although everything has changed now, this is still not a place for anyone who wants to come. People say that after entering Hanzhong University, they would rather not attend classes than make friends. No one can say for sure how much power there is behind an unknown student in the class. There is no doubt about this at this moment. It was noon and the scorching sun was shining, but the playground was unusually crowded with people. At this time on weekdays, not to mention on the playground, even on the way to school, there are hardly anyone to see. On a hot day, no one wants to make themselves uncomfortable. Today, not only were there many people gathered around the playground, but also on the way to the playground, with many students running towards it. Hurry up and take a look. I heard that Teacher Liang is going to be proposed. Teacher Liang, which Teacher Liang? Who else could it be, Teacher Liang? That big shot's daughter, Liang Xiaolu. As soon as they heard these words, the voices of the few discussing suddenly quieted down. Who is the suitor? Isn't Teacher Liang constantly entangled with that poor boy Qi Wei? Nonsense, even he doesn't know what method Teacher Liang used. Anyway, it's Qi Wei who is going back to Hanzhong University today to kneel down and propose in public. Hurry up, we must go and see. More and more people are approaching the playground, and everyone is curious about what will happen here. Why did Qi Wei, the former prominent figure and president of the student union at Hanzhong University, suddenly propose to a teacher who is 10 years older than him in the university? At the same time, in a not-so-spacious rental room, Qi Wei suddenly got up from the bed and sat up, feeling excited. Looking around, his eyes were full of unfamiliarity, and then he seemed to have thought of something. He quickly ran to the bathroom and looked at himself in the mirror. This face is both unfamiliar and familiar. How could I be reborn? Qi Wei touched his face and spoke in a very surprised tone. And also became Qi Wei. The reason why I am familiar with this face is because in my past life, Qi Wei watched that popular TV drama over and over again. The Qi Wei inside, who is half a son of Shengtian, is even more impressive. Unexpectedly, after an accident, I was reborn and became the person whose past life was difficult for countless people to understand. Qi Wei wiped his face with a cold water-soaked towel and looked at himself in the mirror several times before accepting this fact. I walked around this room, revealing a few words everywhere, shabby opening the curtains, the sunlight shone in, and Qi Wei didn't expect that after the accident, he, who knew he would definitely die, could still see the sunlight again. Accidentally, Qi Wei touched his leg, and the sensation was clearly not right. At this moment, Qi Wei pressed down on his temple and a piercing sensation hit, followed by countless familiar scenes. The fusion of memories made Qi Wei slow down for a long time. When the tingling sensation disappeared, Qi Wei showed a helpless smile. He finally understood the current time period. After being shot 3 times in the leg, he had reached the crucial point that changed Qi Wei's life. After digesting his memory for a while, Qi Wei sat on the chair in the living room. He knew that Hanzhong University must be very lively at this time, and Liang Xiaolu was also waiting for him to kneel down and propose. Looking at the sunlight outside the window, Qi Wei smiled self-deprecatingly. He has now become the person who finds it difficult to calm down, and naturally does not want to end up with the result of swallowing a gun and committing suicide. He was well aware that Qi Wei did not love Liang Xiaolu, and even he knew that Liang Xiaolu did not truly love her, which was confirmed in his memory. Liang Xiaolu just wanted revenge because she was emotionally injured. Qi Wei was just bowing his head to reality, wanting to climb up a high branch in order to achieve his revenge. But all of this, stop here. Having made this decision in his heart, Qi Wei stood up, picked up his coat and the flowers he had already bought, and walked towards the outside. He wants to go to Hanzhong University, but it's not about repeating everything, but putting an end to everything here. To win half of the sky, one must not lose step by step, especially not kneel down. Qi Wei's eyes flashed with a hint of determination. Being a second person was an opportunity given to him by heaven. Becoming Qi Wei may be giving him a choice, whether it is difficult to reconcile his intentions or acceptable, without violating the law or committing crimes. Sitting in the car, Qi Wei rushed towards Hanzhong University, leaning against the window and watching the bustling traffic outside. Memories kept emerging in his mind, as if Qi Wei had watched a movie with himself as the protagonist. In that poor and backward small mountain village, he was the only one who was admitted to university. The day before yesterday, several elders in the village arranged a table for a graduation banquet, consisting of no more than 4 dishes. Until now, this memory is very clear, enough to show how much influence that scene had on Qi Wei at that time. A plate of peanuts, a plate of pickled cucumbers, a plate of scrambled eggs, and a large bowl of stewed chicken. Even the wine on the table is the cheapest bulk baijiu, and the purpose of this college entrance banquet is that all the guests who come to attend, at least 500 per person, will not be capped. So, the whole village pooled up money for him to go to school and sent him out of that small mountain village. Before leaving, Qi Wei kowtowed 3 heads to everyone and swore to make a name for himself before going to repay these villagers. After graduating and entering society, Qi Wei finally realized how complex it was. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. Changing Fate, starting from this kneeling. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Changing Fate, starting from this kneeling. Just as Qi Wei was immersed in the memory picture in his mind, the vehicle had already stopped at the entrance of Hanzhong University. With the driver's urging, Qi Wei was also pulled back to reality. The deepening of memory fusion gave Qi Wei a feeling of not seeing Hanzhong University for a long time. He walked step by step towards the university, holding flowers in his arms. Here, he spent 4 glorious years, even thinking that his life would get better and better in the future. But due to the pressure from Liang Xiaolu's father, only he, who was once one of the 3 famous figures in Hanzhong, was transferred to the grassroots level. Everywhere obstructed and hit walls, even if he was shot 3 times, there was no reward. It was only then that the original Qi Wei realized that the world was even more complex than he had imagined. So he compromised, and that's why we have today's proposal. Only by proposing can one lower their head and emerge from a downturn. However, after his rebirth, Qi Wei never allowed such a thing to happen to him. Illegal crime, he doesn't want to do it. Being suppressed and bowing his head, he also doesn't want to do it. Since this road is impassable, let's switch to another road and wade out step by step. Because, as a reborn individual, Qi Wei is well aware that in the 1990s, there were business opportunities everywhere, and even if he switched to other jobs, he could still achieve great success. Familiar campuses, familiar teaching buildings, everything seems so familiar. As Qi Wei became more exposed to his former environment, those memories were also constantly merging. However, to Qi Wei's surprise, a voice suddenly appeared in his mind at this moment. Didi, congratulations on the host's binding to the major country's military industry system. The sudden sound made Qi Wei stand still, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. Is this the system? Before Qi Wei could fully react, mechanical sounds came to his mind again. Didi, please activate the major country's military industry system as soon as possible. The activation task is change your own destiny. When Qi Wei heard about this task, his eyes lit up. Isn't this just in line with my own intentions? I originally wanted to change my fate against the heavens and rewrite the difficult ending, but I didn't expect the emergence of the system. The tasks I posted coincided with my own ideas. This undoubtedly strengthened Qi Wei's determination. He wanted to change his life. This time, not only did he want to win half of the battle, but he also wanted to turn against the enemy. He doesn't want to commit a crime and end up drinking hatred to death. He wants to live upright and live in glory. Thinking of this, Qi Wei walked towards the playground without changing his expression. At this moment, there were already many people gathered around the playground, and Liang Xiaolu stood under that tree. Her hair was draped behind her, with a hairpin tucked between it. She dressed in a dignified and elegant manner, exuding a mature feminine charm. She quickly saw Qi Wei walking towards her, not even realizing that the corners of her mouth were slightly raised. It's not because of love, but because she feels like she won. Here we go. The students gathered here, following Liang Xiaolu's line of sight, saw Qi Wei and gave way. They watched Qi Wei walking towards Liang Xiaolu with flowers in his arms, whispering and discussing without shame. No one expected that Qi Wei would actually come. The once influential figure today is going to propose to the female teacher Liang Xiaolu, who is 10 years older than him, in front of all his younger classmates, even his former mentor and classmates. Looking at Qi Wei approaching, Liang Xiaolu's face carried an unparalleled pride. In her gaze towards Qi Wei, there was no tenderness or anticipation, but rather a condescending gaze. I didn't expect it to be so lively here today. Qi Wei, standing in front of Liang Xiaolu, looked around and smiled, saying. Qi Wei's voice was not loud, but it made the entire playground quiet. Today is a day worth remembering, whether it's for me or for you. Qi Wei didn't talk to Liang Xiaolu first, but looked at all the onlookers and said, which made a hint of doubt flash in Liang Xiaolu's eyes. Everyone was quietly listening to Qi Wei's words, but only he could understand the meaning behind them. I used to think that in this lifetime, as long as a person had the ability, as long as they didn't admit defeat, as long as they had an upright heart, they would definitely win and stand out. But after graduating from college, I was transferred to the grassroots. Haven't you forgotten about this? Qi Wei suddenly looked at Liang Xiaolu, and the coldness in his eyes even made Liang Xiaolu instinctively take a step back. I don't know why, but she felt like Qi Wei in front of her was a different person. Immediately afterwards, Qi Wei showed a self-deprecating smile. Wow, one sentence can determine a person's fate. Power is truly fascinating and terrifying. The onlookers gradually became more serious, and they had already realized that something seemed to be wrong. Looking at Liang Xiaolu, Qi Wei pointed to his leg. I fought my life, got 3 shots, and became a hero. What is the use of heroes? Heroes are just tools in front of power. For so many years, I have swallowed my pride and gritted my teeth to shoulder everything, because I know what I want. And I'm here today because I know what I want. Upon hearing this, Liang Xiaolu, who was already somewhat worried, breathed a sigh of relief in secret. She doesn't care why Qi Wei proposed to her, all she wants is this person's bow. However, to her surprise, Qi Wei looked coldly at Liang Xiaolu and slowly raised the flower in his hand. Before anyone could react, this bouquet of flowers had already exploded and was fiercely thrown onto Liang Xiaolu by Qi Wei. Ah! Liang Xiaolu exclaimed in disbelief as she looked at Qi Wei. Her classmates around her also opened their mouths wide and looked stunned, clearly not expecting the development of the story. Facing the surprised gazes of the crowd, Qi Wei smiled and looked at Liang Xiaolu, saying word by word. I will never bow my head, let alone kneel, especially when it comes to suppression. At the same time, you must remember that I will not get these 3 shots in vain. Feng Shui takes turns, let's walk and see. After saying these words, Qi Wei was too lazy to linger or talk nonsense, so he strode away without looking back in the astonished eyes of everyone. Liang Xiaolu was like being struck by lightning. She never expected that she would wait for a confession, but in the end, she would encounter such a result. Is this still Qi Wei? Although the appearance has not changed, everything else seems different except for the appearance P. The new book has just been published and the word count is not very high, but the author is very hardworking in coding and has saved manuscripts, which can be updated every day. On the first day of publishing today, as long as there are 30 book reviews and 30 people throwing flowers, we can start with 15 more. Thank you. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. 1 penny cannot defeat the heroic Han. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. 1 penny cannot defeat the heroic Han. Liang Xiaolu was completely dumbfounded. The proposal she had been waiting for a long time now seemed like a joke. She was completely unresponsive as she stood still, while the others stared blankly at Qi Wei who had gone far away and then at Liang Xiaolu standing here. Everything happened too suddenly, and the result was shocking enough. At this moment, Qi Wei, who was walking towards the outside of the school, was in a good mood because just now, a system prompt sound came to his mind. Congratulations to the host for completing the mission, successfully changing the predetermined destiny, and officially activating the major country's military industry system. With a slight roar, Qi Wei could immediately see the system interface in his mind. Didi, congratulations to the host for obtaining the new gift package. May I ask if it has been activated? In his past life, Qi Wei read a lot of novels and was also familiar with driving light cars on this route. Open. Didi, congratulations to the host for obtaining the basic rifle firearms raw materials. Please choose to exchange them in the military factory under the host's name. Didi, congratulations to the host for obtaining a rifle blueprint. Please choose to exchange it in the military factory under the host's name. Didi, congratulations to the host. The constant sound of reminders in my mind means that there are indeed quite a few things inside this newcomer's gift package. But a serious problem arose in front of Qi Wei, as these things needed to have a military factory under his own name in order to be used. But where can we solve this military factory? As he left the school gate, Qi Wei's mind was full of thoughts on this matter, as if nothing had happened just now. Not long after, I drove all the way to the grassroots small county town. After returning to the police station, I sat in a chair without saying a word, pondering how to solve this problem. However, he didn't pay attention. On Liang Xiaolu's side, the situation was getting worse and worse. Liang Xiaolu, who had reacted, couldn't bear to throw this person in front of the students and ran out crying. The incident at Hanzhong University quickly spread like wildfire, and after that day, young Xiaolu never showed up at the school again for a few days. Various versions of rumors are increasing, but Qi Wei has not taken them to heart. From yesterday until now, Qi Wei has been thinking about the military factory. After thinking for a long time, Qi Wei finally discovered an opportunity in his memory. This happened 6 months ago. A state-owned military factory in the neighboring county town is on the brink of bankruptcy due to a nationwide upgrade in weapons and technology, and is currently being transferred from state-owned to private. Although it is a military factory, it does not necessarily manufacture firearms, but rather enterprises related to military industry, such as military kettles, rice bowls, uniforms, ammunition, and even ammunition boxes. Such small businesses are ubiquitous throughout the country. At that time, this matter was still causing a stir, but no one took over for a long time. As a reborn individual, Qi Wei is well aware that the late 1980s to 1990s was an era full of opportunities. There are numerous state-owned to private-controlled companies and enterprises, which is a rare opportunity in the important stage of reform. This can also be considered as a means for the state to preserve wealth for the people. Often, the state does not care how much these state-owned assets can be sold for. The focus is on whether the privatization of these factories can solve the employment problems of local people and achieve the goal of promoting wealth first and then. But everyone knows that military enterprises are not easy to do. Not only do they have many constraints, but also problems such as research and development, manufacturing, buyers, and so on that cannot be solved at all. If state-owned enterprises are okay, it will be even more difficult for them to develop factories of this nature after private enterprises take over. Moreover, it is relatively easy for military factories that produce rice bowls, clothing, etc. to convert to civilian use. For example, this military factory produces firearms accessories with outdated equipment. It can be said that it is even more difficult to find someone to take over and convert into a hardware factory. Therefore, until now, military factories have been half dead, and the responsible personnel cannot withdraw, only carrying such a heavy burden. When Qi Wei discovered this memory, he immediately came to his senses. In his opinion, this is a good opportunity, maybe he can really get started with it. Thinking of this, Qi Wei quickly found the newspaper from 6 months ago and searched for the address on the newspaper. This is a large heavy industrial park, and it is not difficult to see that this military factory was once very glorious. It covers an area of at least a few hundred acres, but now it feels like we are all alone. Of course, looking at the scale of a military factory, this factory is simply extremely small. Walking into this overgrown factory, Qi Wei looked around and couldn't even see a complete window. There are only 2 or 3 old masters in the factory, so they are just living here. Finally, under the guidance of teacher Fu, Qi Wei arrived at the factory office and saw the person in charge with a worried expression. "Are you the person in charge here? Have you transferred your military factory?" Upon hearing these words, the person in charge immediately stood up with excitement and took Qi Wei's hand. The strength was so great that it seemed as if he was afraid of running away. "Transfer, of course transfer, do you want it? Here it is." It is obvious that this mess has caused the person in charge to worry for a long time, and they cannot get rid of it. They are still losing money every day, and no one can afford such expenses. Now that someone finally comes knocking on his door, he will naturally feel a bit excited and lose his composure. After looking around, Qi Wei asked the most concerning question. "How much is the transfer fee?" Without a word, the person in charge immediately extended 2 fingers. 100,000 yuan, it's very cheap. There are still some machines left in the workshop, including production licenses and qualifications, all for you. This condition did not impress Qi Wei. Although the price was reasonable, it was only because he had all the qualifications in the military industry and the factory occupied a considerable area, which had nothing to do with the so-called machines. You don't have to look to know that all the machines left behind in this factory are facing obsolescence. In the late 1980s, after the reform entered the fast lane, many machine tools began to be replaced one after another, and the speed was so fast that it even led to many machine tool workers being laid off. So even if these machines stay here, they won't be of much use. But speaking of which, the asking price was not expensive, but Qi Wei still showed a puzzled expression. Upon seeing this expression, the person in charge immediately waved his hand. So, 50,000. Don't hesitate, I'll give you 50,000. This person in charge really doesn't want to carry such a bottomless hole on his back anymore, and he ruthlessly took half of it. After pondering for a moment, Qi Wei gritted his teeth and nodded. After agreeing with the person in charge to come here in 3 days to pay, Qi Wei left here. But on the way back, Qi Wei began to worry again. Not to mention 50,000 yuan, what he can offer now is 10,000 yuan, which is the bonus for his hair after being shot and the money he has saved up. Although this place is indeed cheap, the money has stumped Qi Wei P. The new book has just been published and the word count is not very high, but the author is very hardworking in coding and has saved manuscripts, which can be updated every day. On the first day of publishing today, as long as there are 30 book reviews and 30 people throwing flowers, we can start with 15 more. Thank you. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4. What is the meaning of official career? It still needs to be done. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. What is the meaning of official career? Still having to engage in military industry. Qi Wei was pondering solutions all the way, but after much thought, he had no clue. With a gloomy face, Qi Wei returned to the office, but as soon as he entered, he saw his colleagues looking at him with strange eyes. This puzzled Qi Wei a bit. Just as he sat down in his seat, his colleague on the side leaned over and lowered his voice, asking, Qi Wei, did you publicly give up your proposal at Hanzhong University? Qi Wei was momentarily taken aback. How do you know? My colleague sighed helplessly upon hearing this. The entire department is basically aware of it. The director is angrily looking for you, and we have evaded it for you. What do you really think? Do you dare to provoke someone with such a background? Aren't you afraid that someone will give you small shoes at this moment? The other colleagues also nodded, their eyes looking at Qi Wei with a hint of helplessness. You don't have to think about it. With just one word from the Liang family, he can face obstacles everywhere in his career and have no future prospects. However, to everyone's surprise, Qi Wei shook his head indifferently upon hearing this. It doesn't matter, whether or not I pursue this career path doesn't make much sense. Anyway, I'm not planning to do it anymore. Ah. This statement immediately attracted several colleagues who had a good relationship with Qi Wei. They all approached and looked at Qi Wei with a puzzled expression on their faces. Everyone has never known that Qi Wei, despite risking his life, also wants to go higher and farther on the path of official career, let alone that he is now a hero. But he did self-destructive things at Hanzhong University and now he says he wants to give up his career, which is completely different from what they remember as Qi Weika. Qi Wei, are you okay? You've finally made it to this point. If you give up, then give up. Isn't that your personality? Faced with his colleague's inquiry, Qi Wei did not explain, but pondered and looked at his colleague beside him after 3 and said, Wang Ji, can you lend me some money? I need 40,000 yuan. How much? Wang Ji almost jumped up from the chair. What do you need so much money for? What's wrong with your family? Qi Wei shook his head and looked at Wang Ji and the others seriously, saying, I really don't want to work here anymore. I plan to go overseas for business and take control of the military factory in the heavy industry park, and develop in this area in the future. Upon hearing these words, Wang Ji regained his senses in half a day and looked at Qi Wei with a surprised expression, saying, "Qi Wei, why do I feel like you've changed people? When we were drinking before, you kept saying that this career path was your choice to go all the way to the dark. You are angry that there is no chance, and you are desperately trying to fight for it. Why did you suddenly change your temper now? Is it because of concerns about the Liang family? But if you were worried, why did you do this when you were at Hanzhong University?" Faced with Wang Ji's concern, Qi Wei didn't want to say too much. The Liang family is powerful, but they are also law-abiding. They can only suppress my career, but there will be no other interference, so after I resign, I don't need to take them seriously. Moreover, people always change, and I don't want to leave this career anymore. I'm tired. This is my choice, can you help me? All along, Qi Wei's relationship with his colleagues has been good, but now everyone's face is filled with difficulties. One reason is that they really think this is unreliable, and they don't eat the good national food while running to get some weapons. Not to mention anything else, if it were really easy to do, then the news of the transfer of the military factory would not have been released for more than half a year and could not be transferred. Moreover, if it were 50 or 100, they wouldn't even blink. But this is tens of thousands, no one can afford this money. A brief silence, even after giving Qi Wei the answer, he nodded lightly. It's okay, I also know that this 40,000 is not a decimal, so I'll just tell you about it. You don't have to worry about this, I can figure it out on my own. Speaking, Qi Wei left the office and sat down in an empty meeting room. At present, he urgently needed these 40,000 yuan, so in the absence of any other options, he opened his portable address book and wanted to see if anyone could help him. Looking at these familiar names on the address book, Qi Wei's eyebrows did not show any signs of relaxation. Ho Liang, Chen Hai familiar names appeared one by one, and Qi Wei's memory also frequently showed their recent situation. These students are now mostly either wealthy, either in the officialdom or in the mall, they are all influential figures. And to this day, I am still a grassroots police officer, and gradually I have no connection with the majority. Flipping through the address book, Qi Wei could only continue to scroll down. When a name appeared, Qi Wei suddenly felt as if a needle had pierced his heart. The fusion of memories allows Qi Wei to empathize with everything that has happened before. And this name constantly reminds him of his once vibrant youth. Chen Yang. Looking at this name, it seems that Qi Wei suddenly returned to the time of his first love. After a few seconds, Qi Wei finally regained his senses. At that time, the final breakup between the two involved too much helplessness. At that time, Qi Wei was in a remote small county town that was difficult to make a name for, while Chen Yang was in the dazzling capital city. The appearance of Liang Xiaolu accelerated the final outcome of the two, but of course, it was also due to the various obsessions that Qi Wei couldn't let go of at the beginning. Gently exhaling a murky breath, Qi Wei walked towards the reception room in the office. Looking at this phone call that had not been called for many years, Qi Wei was not sure if he could hear the voice from his memory again. Hello. The new book has just been published and the word count is not very high, but the author is very hardworking in coding and has saved manuscripts, which can be updated every day. On the first day of publishing today, as long as there are 30 book reviews and 30 people throwing flowers, we can start with 15 more. Thank you. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. Resignation and going to the sea to build a military industry factory. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Resignation and going to the sea to build a military industry factory. When the phone was not yet connected, Qi Wei felt a bit uneasy in his heart. Upon hearing the familiar voice, Qi Wei suddenly didn't know how to speak. Still the familiar voice, just a bit more mature. After many years, there are always many things that cannot be let go. Qi Wei, is that you? I didn't expect to receive your call one day. On the phone, Chen Yang took the initiative to inquire, and Qi Wei smiled. This phone call was not as difficult or intense as imagined, just like two old friends chatting confidently years later. Chen Yang, how have you been lately? I've always been fine, but it's you. The news about Hanzhong University has already come, and I don't understand why you're doing this. Chen Yang's inquiry silenced Qi Wei for a few seconds before he finally spoke up. Some things can be compromised, while others cannot. The phone was quiet for a few seconds, and this conversation made both of them feel a bit conflicted. So, Qi Wei, why did you suddenly call me? Qi Wei looked out the window as if he had made some decision. I gave up on the path of career. Now there is an opportunity one want to seize, but it requires 40,000 yuan. These words seemed to have drained Qi Wei's entire strength. With his heart racing, he tried to maintain calmness while waiting for a response on the other end of the phone. Okay, give me your address and contact information, and I'll go and wire it to you right away. But I don't have that much, so you'll need to figure out the rest yourself. Even Qi Wei didn't expect that Chen Yang would agree so decisively, which made him feel a bit dazed. Chen Yang, don't you even ask, what do I need this money for? On the other end of the phone, Chen Yang's somewhat helpless voice came. One day later, I suddenly truly understood that our separation was a destined outcome. You are a proud person with your own goals. Instead of asking what you want this money for, it's better to tell you to do what you've decided on. Perhaps I could have figured out this matter earlier, our outcome. Speaking of this, Chen Yang didn't continue, just asked Qi Wei to send her the address and hung up the phone. Looking at the phone interface, Qi Wei couldn't help but feel a bit complicated. Even he didn't expect that this phone call would solve his current most headache problem. Of course, in Qi Wei's heart, he was very certain that the money would be returned soon. For Chen Yang's complex emotions, Qi Wei can only hide them with those memories in his heart for the time being. Chen Yang was willing to help, and Qi Wei's goal of 50,000 was suddenly brought much closer. The remaining Qi Wei also gained some confidence and continued to call other friends and classmates. Sure enough, on the phone, these former classmates and friends all knew about his remarkable achievements at Hanzhong University. When he learned that he was going to resign and go into the sea, he was even more worried about persuasion. However, Qi Wei's attitude was very resolute, and those friends were only out of concern. If they couldn't persuade him, they could only give up. However, for money, these friends find it difficult to come up with tens of thousands at once, and can only barely come up with 1 or 2,000. As Qi Wei approached his final goal, he finished searching for the last few people in his contact list. It's very inconvenient to transfer money these days. I don't have a bank card, so I still use my passbook and certificate of deposit. The passbook is used for survival, while the certificate of deposit is a fixed term. As for transfer, the bank does not provide this service and can only use postal money orders. The phone rang one after another, all notifying him to go to the post office to collect the money order. Qi Wei sighed lightly. In the late 1980s, 30,000 yuan was already a sky-high figure, and everyone did their best to help, using expensive telegraphic transfers, also known as telegraphic transfers. Otherwise, waiting for the post office to deliver the bill to your door may be a month later. But with the remaining 10,000, Qi Wei couldn't think of any other way. At this moment, the door to the conference room was pushed open, and Qi Wei saw Wang Ji walking in. Don't bother me anymore, I have already decided. Qi Wei thought Wang Ji was here to enlighten him, but he didn't expect Wang Ji to hand over a stack of cash. Looking at this pile of cash, Qi Wei was stunned and then turned to Wang Ji. Xiaoqi, these 10,000 yuan were raised by our brothers. Although I have to advise you to consider this matter, you spoke up and we can't just look at it this way. Brother's salary is low, and this money has also been scraped together in various ways. Take it and use it. Qi Wei was surprised and took the money, but before he could say anything, Wang Ji took the initiative to leave the conference room. As for men, everything he said at this moment seemed pretentious, but looking at Wang Ji's back, Qi Wei made up his mind. He will definitely refund this money several times. With 50,000 yuan raised, Qi Wei went straight to the director's office. At the sight of Qi Wei, the director's face turned pale with iron. He received the call from above and was holding back his stomach, ready to curse loudly. However, when he approached the director, Qi Wei took off his hat and lined up on the table with his documents. "Let me inform you that I have resigned." Speaking, Qi Wei walked out without looking back. This scene not only shocked the director, but also widened the eyes of colleagues except for Wang Ji. No one expected Qi Wei to be so decisive. From knowing Qi Wei's resignation intention to taking action, it took no more than 10 minutes. For a moment, colleagues were all worried and came up to dissuade him. Everyone felt that Qi Wei's decision was too risky. However, Qi Wei had no intention of lingering on this place and left with great strides. Arriving at the door, Qi Wei turned around to look at the place where he had worked before. Under the sunshine, this place shines brightly, but only he knows how much darkness is hidden where the sun cannot shine. The next day, Qi Wei arrived at the heavy industrial zone and patted a thick stack of money on the table. The person in charge of the military factory was so excited that he almost burst into tears. Without saying a word, he accompanied Qi Wei to handle the transfer procedures, carrying his bag and running away, afraid that Qi Wei would renege. Qi Wei looked at the information about this factory and was very satisfied with everything. Although it was a bit old, at least the procedures were complete. There are 5 large workshops in the factory, and there are not many remaining equipment, but they can operate basically. But there were only 2 old masters left in the factory, and Qi Wei knew that relying on these 2 people would not be able to restore the operation of the military factory in a short period of time. However, regarding the issue of manpower, Qi Wei had already considered it. He is going to start at this military factory and earn money with all the people under his command. Rather than letting outsiders earn this money, it's better to hand it over to one's own people. Having made up his mind, Qi Wei instructed the 2 teachers to take a 3-day leave. After 3 days, when he returned, he could start the operation of the entire military factory. The 2 old masters naturally have doubts about the words of this young person in charge. Not to mention the need for a lot of labor to turn the entire military factory around. Just say that this factory has been abandoned for half a year. Where did such a young person in charge get the shipping channels and the manufacturing drawings? The drawings left over by the factory no longer meet the R&D standards. So how do you think about it? This factory won't be able to operate in 3 days. However, Qi Wei did not explain much and left the factory after leaving these words. Without any delay, Qi Wei arrived at the station and bought a ticket. After many years, he finally set foot on the land of his hometown again. The village is relatively backward and lacks much communication, so since leaving his hometown, Qi Wei has had almost no contact with his family. Time has passed and he doesn't know what his hometown looks like now, but Qi Wei knows that it's time for him to repay his hometown. First, find a few young men who are young and strong, and follow me to operate this military factory. The kindness of the villagers at that time never faded in these memory fragments. Now that the second emperor is a human being, everything has the possibility of being changed again. Qi Wei made up his mind to apply the phrase, "One person gains the way, a chicken and a dog ascend to heaven," to himself. Of course, it is legitimate to help everyone get rich together. The new book has just been published and the word count is not very high, but the author is very hardworking in coding and has saved manuscripts, which can be updated every day. On the first day of publishing today, as long as there is data support, flowers and review tickets, we can start at 15. Thank you. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. Resignation and going to the sea to build a military industry factory. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 5. Resignation and going to the sea to build a military industry factory. When the phone was not yet connected, Qi felt a bit uneasy in his heart. Upon hearing the familiar voice, Qi suddenly didn't know how to speak. Still the familiar voice, just a bit more mature. After many years, there are always many things that cannot be let go. Qi, is that you? I didn't expect to receive your call one day. On the phone, Shengtian took the initiative to inquire, and Qi smiled. This phone call was not as difficult or intense as imagined, just like two old friends chatting confidently years later. Shengtian, how have you been lately? I've always been fine, but it's you. The news about Hanzhong University has already come, and I don't understand why you're doing this. Shengtian's inquiry silenced Qi for a few seconds before he finally spoke up. Some things can be compromised, while others cannot. The phone was quiet for a few seconds, and this conversation made both of them feel a bit conflicted. So, Qi, why did you suddenly call me? Qi looked out the window as if he had made some decision. I gave up on the path of career. Now there is an opportunity one want to seize, but it requires 40,000 yuan. These words seemed to have drained Qi entire strength. With his heart racing, he tried to maintain calmness while waiting for a response on the other end of the phone. Okay, give me your address and contact information, and I'll go and wire it to you right away. But I don't have that much, so you'll need to figure out the rest yourself. Even Qi didn't expect that Shengtian would agree so decisively, which made him feel a bit dazed. Shengtian, don't you even ask, what do I need this money for? On the other end of the phone, Shengtian's somewhat helpless voice came. One day later, I suddenly truly understood that our separation was a destined outcome. You are a proud person with your own goals. Instead of asking what you want this money for, it's better to tell you to do what you've decided on. Perhaps I could have figured out this matter earlier, our outcome. Speaking of this, Shengtian didn't continue, just asked Qi to send her the address and hung up the phone. Looking at the phone interface, Qi couldn't help but feel a bit complicated. Even he didn't expect that this phone call would solve his current most headache problem. Of course, in Qi heart, he was very certain that the money would be returned soon. For Shengtian's complex emotions, Qi can only hide them with those memories in his heart for the time being. Shengtian was willing to help, and Qi goal of 50,000 was suddenly brought much closer. The remaining Qi also gained some confidence and continued to call other friends and classmates. Sure enough, on the phone, these former classmates and friends all knew about his remarkable achievements at Hanzhong University. When he learned that he was going to resign and go into the sea, he was even more worried about persuasion. However, Qi attitude was very resolute, and those friends were only out of concern. If they couldn't persuade him, they could only give up. However, for money, these friends find it difficult to come up with tens of thousands at once, and can only barely come up with 1 or 2,000. As Qi approached his final goal, he finished searching for the last few people in his contact list. It's very inconvenient to transfer money these days. I don't have a bank card, so I still use my passbook and certificate of deposit. The passbook is used for survival, while the certificate of deposit is a fixed term. As for transfer, the bank does not provide this service and can only use postal money orders. The phone rang one after another, all notifying him to go to the post office to collect the money order. Qi sighed lightly. In the late 1980s, 30,000 yuan was already a sky-high figure, and everyone did their best to help, using expensive telegraphic transfers, also known as telegraphic transfers. Otherwise, waiting for the post office to deliver the bill to your door may be a month later. But with the remaining 10,000, Qi couldn't think of any other way. At this moment, the door to the conference room was pushed open, and Qi saw Wang Ji walking in. Don't bother me anymore, I have already decided. Qi Wei thought Wang Ji was here to enlighten him, but he didn't expect Wang Ji to hand over a stack of cash. Looking at this pile of cash, Qi Wei was stunned and then turned to Wang Ji. Xiaoqi, these 10,000 yuan were raised by our brothers. Although I have to advise you to consider this matter, you spoke up and we can't just look at it this way. Brother's salary is low, and this money has also been scraped together in various ways. Take it and use it. Qi Wei was surprised and took the money, but before he could say anything, Wang Ji took the initiative to leave the conference room. As for men, everything he said at this moment seemed pretentious, but looking at Wang Ji's back, Qi Wei made up his mind. He will definitely refund this money several times. With 50,000 yuan raised, Qi Wei went straight to the director's office. At the sight of Qi Wei, the director's face turned pale with iron. He received the call from above and was holding back his stomach, ready to curse loudly. However, when he approached the director, Qi Wei took off his hat and lined up on the table with his documents. Let me inform you that I have resigned. Speaking, Qi Wei walked out without looking back. This scene not only shocked the director, but also widened the eyes of colleagues except for Wang Ji. No one expected Qi Wei to be so decisive. From knowing Qi Wei's resignation intention to taking action, it took no more than 10 minutes. For a moment, colleagues were all worried and came up to dissuade him. Everyone felt that Qi Wei's decision was too risky. However, Qi Wei had no intention of lingering on this place and left with great strides. Arriving at the door, Qi Wei turned around to look at the place where he had worked before. Under the sunshine, this place shines brightly, but only he knows how much darkness is hidden where the sun cannot shine. The next day, Qi Wei arrived at the heavy industrial zone and patted a thick stack of money on the table. The person in charge of the military factory was so excited that he almost burst into tears. Without saying a word, he accompanied Qi Wei to handle the transfer procedures, carrying his bag and running away, afraid that Qi Wei would renege. Qi Wei looked at the information about this factory and was very satisfied with everything. Although it was a bit old, at least the procedures were complete. There are 5 large workshops in the factory, and there are not many remaining equipment, but they can operate basically. But there were only 2 old masters left in the factory, and Qi Wei knew that relying on these 2 people would not be able to restore the operation of the military factory in a short period of time. However, regarding the issue of manpower, Qi Wei had already considered it. He is going to start at this military factory and earn money with all the people under his command. Rather than letting outsiders earn this money, it's better to hand it over to one's own people. Having made up his mind, Qi Wei instructed the 2 teachers to take a 3-day leave. After 3 days, when he returned, he could start the operation of the entire military factory. The 2 old masters naturally have doubts about the words of this young person in charge. Not to mention the need for a lot of labor to turn the entire military factory around. Just say that this factory has been abandoned for half a year. Where did such a young person in charge get the shipping channels and the manufacturing drawings? The drawings left over by the factory no longer meet the R&D standards. So how do you think about it? This factory won't be able to operate in 3 days. However, Qi Wei did not explain much and left the factory after leaving these words. Without any delay, Qi Wei arrived at the station and bought a ticket. After many years, he finally set foot on the land of his hometown again. The village is relatively backward and lacks much communication, so since leaving his hometown, Qi Wei has had almost no contact with his family. Time has passed and he doesn't know what his hometown looks like now, but Qi Wei knows that it's time for him to repay his hometown. First, find a few young men who are young and strong, and follow me to operate this military factory. The kindness of the villagers at that time never faded in these memory fragments. Now that the second emperor is a human being, everything has the possibility of being changed again. Qi Wei made up his mind to apply the phrase, "One person gains the way, a chicken and a dog ascend to heaven," to himself. Of course, it is legitimate to help everyone get rich together. The new book has just been published and the word count is not very high, but the author is very hardworking in coding and has saved manuscripts, which can be updated every day. On the first day of publishing today, as long as there is data support, flowers and review tickets, we can start at 15. Thank you. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. In this lifetime, stand and live. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. In this lifetime, stand and live. Standing at the entrance of the village, looking at the small and dilapidated mountain village in front of him, Qi Wei had a myriad of thoughts. He is from Handong province, but he cannot buy a ticket to his hometown from Hanzhong station and can only borrow a route from Fengyang in the neighboring province. Fengyang is very famous, and the Fengyang flower drum is renowned throughout the country. Since a monk who returned to secular life established the magnificent Ming dynasty, when it comes to Fengyang, everyone says it is a great place for outstanding individuals. However, few people have noticed that the Fengyang flower drum is actually a blessing sung by beggars from Fengyang. If that great monk could survive, he wouldn't run to conquer the world. A place where even a monk cannot survive can be imagined to be so poor. However, Qi Wei's hometown, Yantai County, is even poorer than Fengyang. At least Fengyang still has a name for being outstanding, with Fengyang flower drums that can be sung to others. Rock platform, what is there? What can there be in a place that is so poor that even the provincial capital disdains connecting to it by bus? Take a 3-hour bus from Hanzhong station to Fengyang, then a 2-hour minibus to Yantai. Then walk for 2 hours, walk 20 miles on a mountain road, and you will arrive at Qi Wei's hometown, Qijia Village. After several years of not coming back, Qijia Village still looks like it was in my memory, but those thatched cottages are even more dilapidated. Uncle Wei. The sound of surprise rang out, and a small figure suddenly rushed out of the roadside forest, looking at Qi Wei with a face full of surprise. Qi Wei stared blankly at the little girl in front of him. She was carrying a bundle of firewood that was even bigger than her, wearing a clothes that was almost big enough to mop the floor, obviously an adult's clothes. Her dark face was covered in mud and dust, and her big eyes were full of surprises. Arya. Qi Wei recognized it at a glance. The last time I saw her, she was only 5 years old. 3 years have passed, and she has grown a lot. Besides that, it seems she has only lost some weight. It's me, it's me. Arya was very happy. She threw down the firewood on her back and rushed towards the village happily, with a clear childlike voice echoing through the valley. Grandpa, Uncle Wei is back. As if the spring breeze swept over the fields, the entire small mountain village came to life in an instant. Several adults working in the fields straightened up and looked over, while an old man threw down his hoe and ran towards this side. However, the old man's legs and feet were obviously not as agile as the children's. A bunch of children rushed towards him in a daze, instantly encircling Qi Wei. Uncle Wei, I'll help you carry your bag. Uncle Wei, did you bring back the kumquat? Uncle Wei, I don't want kumquats, I want fruit candy. Qi Wei's heart was full of sourness. In his memory, he came back 3 years ago when he was still in college. I didn't expect that after 3 years, these children still couldn't forget about kumquats and fruit candies. In this impoverished era. What you want to eat as soon as you come back, Uncle Wei, who runs a cooperative. Get out of here. A majestic voice rang out, and the old man with a group of adults greeted him earlier. Xian'erbo, don't be angry, there's no child who doesn't crave. Qi Wei opened his backpack, took out a big bag of snacks, and gave it to Arya. Take it and share it. Arya cheerfully opened the bag and first took out a box from inside. The box was so exquisite that Arya didn't even recognize it. Grandpa, what is this? Dragon whisker pastry. Old Qian squinted his eyes and recognized it for a moment. The one below is wick cake. Xiao Weier has achieved great success, exclaimed a middle-aged man. Dragon whisker cake and wick cake were eaten a few years ago when I exchanged them for grain vouchers. I haven't seen them for a long time since I had to buy them with money. Call Qi Wei. Qi Wei is a college student, and now he is still a member of the public family. His name is Daming, said the middle-aged man with a stern glare after scolding him. Old Qian looked at Qi Wei with a contented expression on his face and said, "Remember to go back to the village and take a look, it's good." However, he changed his tone, "Qi Wei, even if you have money, you can't spend it recklessly. You should keep it and start a family." That's right, the dowry for getting married is not for all ages, it costs 1 or 2,000. Qi Wei is currently a member of the public family, so he must find someone from the city to start a family, probably starting at 3,000 yuan. I didn't spend money recklessly, Qi Wei smiled and shook his head. I made a small contribution and won the top prize. He panicked. These things were actually all given to him by the bureau and colleagues after he was injured and hospitalized, and then saved up. My eyes were slightly moist, and in fact, not all of Qijia Village's surnames were Qi, but multiple surnames lived together, with no close kinship between them. However, it is these villagers with no blood ties who generously donate when they have no money to go to college. A family only costs 1 or 2,000, but if you go to school on your own, every household can contribute 500. The person in front of him was Qian Erbua, who personally wrote a red envelope of over 500 yuan on a red paper, and was also the first person to put money in front of everyone. At the same time, the villagers sell 1 kilogram of rice for 1.2 cents and 1 pig that has been raised for a whole year for 170 yuan. People in later generations lamented that the man named Qi Wei betrayed his dignity and had no principles towards his fellow villagers. They don't know what this man is carrying. Qian Erbua, Qi Wei opened his backpack again and took out a pair of baijiu from it. Is it a big deal? Mr. Qian looked suspiciously at a pair of Luzhou old cellars tied together with red plastic bags, which were famous wines. Is Qi Wei causing trouble outside when treating everyone to such wine? Very big, Qi Wei replied with a smile. Ah, young people should endure it when they are outside, don't be impulsive, learn to lower their heads. Qian sighed and took the pair of drinks. But even if it's big, there's no need to be afraid when you go back to the village. Qi Wei shook his head slightly. He knew that Qian Erbua had misunderstood, but he had no intention of explaining now. Perhaps in the eyes of others, these villagers are his burden and the inducement that led him to a path of no return. But in Qi Wei's view, these villagers are all his wealth. He wants to take his fellow villagers, not break the law, not bow his head. In this life, stand and live. The new book has just been published and the word count is not very high, but the author is very hardworking in coding and has saved manuscripts, which can be updated every day. On the first day of publishing today, as long as there are 30 book reviews and 30 people throwing flowers, we can start with 15 more. Thank you. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. What exactly does he want in Chapter 7? You are listening at novelfull.audio. What exactly does he want in Chapter 7? Bang! The sound of broken vessels echoed in the dormitory of teachers at Hanzhong University. Liang Xiaolu held a bottle of perfume in her hand and glared at the broken mirror, in which there was a twisted face. How dare he! With the hiss and roar, the perfume in his hand hit the mirror hard, and the glass fragments splashed, cutting several tiny blood stains on Liang Xiaolu's face, but Liang Xiaolu didn't realize it. Physical pain is far less hurtful than psychological shame. Liang Xiaolu doesn't like Qi Wei. She only has an extremely strong possessiveness towards Qi Wei. After all, Qi Wei is a young man with a bright future in all aspects, wise, resolute, and decisive. Making such a man submit to his own power can bring her an extremely strong sense of abnormal pleasure. In order to achieve her goals, she used her father's power to transfer Qi Wei, who was about to head to a big city and make steady progress, to a remote and impoverished countryside as a drug enforcement officer. Despite being shot 3 times, Liang Xiaolu still couldn't get a chance to escape this fate, which had completely crushed the pride of this proud man. When she saw Qi Wei walking towards her holding flowers, Liang Xiaolu was extremely proud. However, this arrogance immediately turned into extreme shame. He actually smashed flowers on himself in front of the whole school. He actually publicly scolded himself. He turned around and left without looking back, like a naked clown, exhibiting himself in front of the whole school. Liang Xiaolu had never experienced such injustice since childhood. She gritted her teeth and picked up the phone. These days, telephones are still extremely rare, and the entire Hanzhong University only has 2. One is in the principal's office, and the other is here with Liang Xiaolu. In an office with bright windows in Hanzhong City, a dignified middle-aged man sits on a sofa, holding a phone in his hand. "Old man, our daughter has suffered a lot this time. As a father, you can't let others bully her." A middle-aged woman with a similar appearance to Liang Xiaolu was wiping away her tears. "Got it, why are you crying?" The middle-aged man said irritably. He is exactly Liang Feng, the father of Liang Xiaolu. The Liang family is very wealthy, but unfortunately they only have one precious daughter, which is not a worry. I'll call his workplace and personally ask that bastard, what exactly doesn't match my daughter at home. What are you asking? Liang Feng blocked Liang's mother's hand. I just asked, he has already resigned. Resignation. Liang's mother's tears instantly stopped, her face full of doubt. What is he planning to resign for? I heard that we are planning to open a factory and make guns. Liang Feng also had some doubts. Opening a factory to make guns. Liang's mother's eyes widened instantly and couldn't help but curse, he's a poor kid, making a damn gun. Who knows? Liang Feng shook his head. To be honest, he couldn't see through this Qi Wei either. Isn't it okay to just be the son-in-law of my Lao Liang family? Liang Xiaolu is known for her national beauty and natural beauty, and the Liang family is even more prosperous. It is unknown how many people want to sneak into the Liang family, and from then on, she has become a beautiful wife and a beautiful family member, achieving great success. Why did Qi Wei come out with such a stone? My daughter is not even interested in pursuing her back. Making guns. Do you know how to do it? Don't panic. It's normal for young people to have a hot brain. Liang Feng snorted from his nose. Be patient for 2 days, when he kneels in front of our door and begs our daughter's forgiveness. Qijia Village. In the brick and tile house of the richest man in the village, Mr. Qian, a group of people are sitting around a large table. The food was almost eaten, but the wine didn't move much. Old Qian held the bottle of Luzhou Laojiao wine, but did not pour it, staring at Qi Wei with bright eyes. Tell me, Qi Wei, what exactly did you cause? Everyone equally focused on Qi Wei, who shook his head indifferently. It didn't cause any trouble. He has told his fellow villagers several times today that there is no need to be so formal, just call him a nickname. However, Mr. Qian and others insisted that he was a member of the public family, and from then on he would be called Daming. Just shout, this matter is just like smashing flowers on Liang Xiaolu's face, it's a trivial matter. I resigned, he said casually. What? Old Qian felt like he had a hallucination, and everyone else looked dull. I have submitted my resignation report, and from today on, I am no longer a police officer, Qi Wei said calmly. The spendthrift. Old Qian immediately jumped up, looking as if he wanted a bottle of wine to shout on Qi Wei's brain melon seeds. You don't even eat public meals, what are you planning to eat? Plant like us for a lifetime. He roared with his beard and hair wide open. That's right, You college student, as the old saying goes, wenkuxing, how can you farm? Damn it. The villagers are equally heartbroken. It has been 9 years since the reform was implemented, and it has also been 9 years since the implementation of household contract production. The first one to implement household contract production is Fengyang, adjacent to Qijia Village. 9 years have passed, and farmers no longer have to worry too much about hunger. However, there are still very few ways to make money, and they can only rely on feeding pigs, raising chickens and ducks, buying eggs, and earning a meager income. Feeding pigs depends on luck, as there are fluctuations in pork prices, as well as swine fever, chickens, and ducks. Therefore, being able to eat public meals is considered a virtue accumulated by all farmers from their ancestors. Otherwise, I won't be able to secure this iron rice bowl. But there was a little bastard right in front of me who smashed his iron rice bowl. Don't worry, Uncle Qian. Qi Wei couldn't help but laugh and cry. Eating public meals is not a good term in later generations. Everyone who eats this bowl of rice is talented and speaks well. I'm planning to open a factory with the whole village. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. The Loser of the Qi Family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The Loser. Open a factory. Qian Erbua's puzzled gaze swept over Qi Wei and said, "Are you still carrying the whole village?" "That's right." Qi Wei nodded confidently. "Is it burning red bricks or mining?" Qian Erbua frowned and said, "Are you planning to burn cement?" "Burning cement. That's a business that comes with money. Isn't it?" A cement factory has been built in Fengshan Township, and every household now has cement walls. Those who have read books, even if they have the ability, can burn cement. The villagers were all pleasantly surprised. In recent years, in order to develop the economy, the public has been heartbroken. Every day, they encourage villagers to raise funds and build their own factories, so that everyone can get rich together. Therefore, each village has the conditions to raise funds, but if not, conditions must be created. Small brick kilns, small coal mines, and quarries are the pillar industries of each village. As for the cement factory, it is already a high-tech industry. Nowadays, the whole world is vigorously building construction projects, digging reservoirs, constructing water channels, and building dams, and the supply of cement is in short supply. Fengshan Township used to be as poor as Yantai, but now that they have a cement factory and are shaking up, their daughters are not very willing to marry Yantai anymore. According to the word Qi Wei said when he just came home, what is it called? Yes, expansion. Undoubtedly someone who has read books, their vocabulary is so elegant. There is a cement factory in Fengshan Township, which has expanded and is no longer attractive to us. But now, it's also our turn to expand. It is this that makes the villagers very proud. Other villages have raised funds to build brick kilns and coal mines, while our village has raised funds to produce college students. Now that our college students have returned after completing their studies, they have taken over the most high-end industrial cement factory with just one move. I will ask if you are satisfied with our vision in Qijia Village. Everyone shut up. Qian Erbua suddenly roared angrily. What cement are you really planning to burn? He glared fiercely at Qi Wei. No, Qi Wei felt a bit depressed. He had no interest in these township enterprises in the future. It's a legitimate factory. Qi Wei explained. No matter what factory you open, it's all crooked ways. Qian Erbua knocked the wine bottle hard on the table, interrupting Qi Wei's explanation and setting the tone directly. Everyone only sees thieves eating meat, not seeing thieves being beaten. Everyone only knows how to make money by opening a factory, but they don't know if someone opens a factory and loses their pants, and the whole family hangs themselves. Qian looked solemnly at the whole room and his gaze fell on Qi Wei. He suppressed his anger and spoke earnestly, "Qi Wei, the risk of opening a factory is too high. Let's not join in the fun. Public rice is the iron rice bowl. How many people want to eat public meals every year? My family also wants to eat dog leftovers, but they just can't eat them." "Dog residue can also be considered a good reader," said a local party member. "Unfortunately, I didn't get into vocational school, otherwise there would have been 2 successful graduates in our village," sighed another township party member. Go Lu is the son of Qian, and he is also a daimyo. Qi Wei didn't know how future generations would go out and meet people under such a name, but in this era, this was the norm. If it is in a place with mixed surnames in the south, village officials will also help change the name to a more pleasant one when registering, such as Jiangwo or Jianjun. But in the north, there is usually a settlement of one surname and several big surnames, and everyone has the same surname. You can't create several armies with the same name and surname in a village. There's no other way. In 1986, which was last year, the country only began to implement 9-year compulsory education nationwide. Prior to this, attending school was not mandatory by law, and basic education was also tailored to different regions. Some implemented the 6+3 model for 6 years of primary school and 3 years of junior high school, while others implemented the 5+4 model for 5 years of primary school and 4 years of junior high school. Moreover, in the 1980s and 1990s, vocational schools and normal schools were the best way out for students, especially those from impoverished backgrounds. The reason is simple. High school and university both require tuition fees, while vocational schools and teacher training do not require tuition fees. The government even provides money, and after graduation, it is even allocated. It is precisely because of this that the admission score lines for vocational schools and normal schools are exceptionally high, which cannot be compared to the college entrance examination in later generations. That's all, let Qi Wei lead his fellow villagers to become rich no matter what. Because you didn't get into a vocational school but got into a key high school, but Qian couldn't bear to part with the money. Unfortunately, when he was admitted to college, Qian was so happy to pour out his savings. According to him, even if a dog reads, he will not starve to death, and Qi Wei is the one with great abilities. Now this big deal has given up the iron rice bowl that everyone admires, and they are saying they want to start a factory with a group of villagers who can almost be described as illiterate. Qian sighed a bit, and his eyes were slightly feverish. "You are a good child," Qian looked at Qi Wei kindly. "Your thoughts, knows. You think the villagers have raised money to pay for your college tuition, so you want to repay everyone and lead them to get rich together. Don't have such thoughts. We are all your elders. Watching you grow up from a young age, how can we see you not even afford tuition fees? If you can get into college and become the first college student in our township, the people of Qijia Village will have a bright face when they go out. That's enough." Qian continued earnestly, "Let's not deal with what we have or not. What's the point of being a mining owner or a kiln head? Even if you burn cement, you're not a kiln head. Listen to Uncle Air's words, go back to the unit tomorrow, make a good mistake with the leader, and put up your iron rice bowl again. You are a capable person, and you will definitely become a high-ranking official in the future. It's not better than burning a few bricks or tiles." "That's right, I heard people say that officials can eat in the cafeteria, there are cars to pick them up when they go out, and there are guards standing guard at the door. It's so beautiful. I'm right to hear what your second uncle said. Stability is the most important thing in a person's life. Eat the public's meals safely, marry a city wife, and become a high-ranking official in the future. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Does not eating public rice make your brain crazy? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 9. Does not eating public rice make your brain crazy? The village party members also came back to their senses and agreed one after another. In recent years, going into the sea for business is not mainstream, and the status of being a boss in running a business is not very high. In the eyes of many people, businessmen are even synonymous with speculation. Moreover, the vast majority of bosses are actually the bosses of state-owned enterprises and have connections. Young people like Qi Wei who come from poor mountain villages, of course, the most stable thing is to continue eating public meals. But Qi Wei was full of frustration. He can understand the thoughts of Qian Erbo and others. In fact, the idea of eating public meals and having a stable life has a huge impact even in later generations. Don't you see that every year in the national examination, candidates start at 1 or 2 million, almost knocking down the threshold of the examination room? On average, more than 60 people compete for a position, which is comparable to taking the vocational school entrance exam in the 1980s. In future generations, it will always be like this, not to mention the late 1980s, especially for the children of farmers. You should know that these days, farmers are sweating profusely all year round, earning only 500 to 600 yuan, and it depends on the weather to eat. And the family members comfortably receive 100 or 200 yuan per month, ensuring a stable harvest during droughts and floods. The government also distributes rice, meat, oil, houses, and wives. Low income is not important, the real key is that farmers have no opportunity to stand out. Before the transition from state-owned to private, all job positions were staffed, with 1 carrot and 1 pit. This has been relaxed for the past 2 years. Otherwise, farmers need to have a letter of introduction issued by the production team to leave their registered residence registration place, not to mention going to the city to work. That is to say, craftsmen such as bricklayers and blacksmiths can benefit from urban development and construction. For example, Qian Erbo was a blacksmith who stopped working in the past few years. He took his son to the city to set up a stall and make aluminum wash basins for people, earning money and seeing the world, becoming the most prestigious person in the village. As for other jobs in the city, even cleaning public toilets is the patent of city people, and countless people are eager to do it. In the 1980s, there were only 3 options for rural people: taking the vocational school entrance exam, joining the military, and attending university. Each one is a single tree crossed by thousands of soldiers and horses, and they all eat public meals. Even in Qi Wei's own opinion, if he didn't carry the memories of later generations, it would be easy to draw this conclusion based solely on what he has seen and heard so far. I'm afraid there might be a brain drain if I don't even eat public meals. But Qi Wei's original life trajectory was as planned by his second uncle, eating a family meal, marrying a city wife, and becoming an extremely important official. For this reason, he lost his dignity and also lost his love. He spent his whole life trying his best to climb up the ladder, and ultimately ended up swallowing a gun and committing suicide. He certainly doesn't want to walk this irreversible path again. Uncle Heir, Qi Wei said angrily, I have already found the factory. Did you find it? Qian Erbo was enraged by Qi Wei's refusal to enter the market. You've already found it. Why do you come back and ask us? I came back this time just to find a few people to help me, Qi Wei said awkwardly. This is indeed one of his main purposes for returning, although with the foundation of future knowledge and the assistance of the system, it is inevitable that his military factory will prosper. However, at present, it is still necessary to have a few people who have a deep understanding and can be absolutely trusted to help with all the pioneering work. And his goal is still to lead the whole village to become rich together, so of course, he needs to rely on the villagers for manpower. As for the low cultural level of the villagers, that is not a problem at all. There aren't many high-educated students these days, and as long as the craftsmanship and training are in place, elementary school students are not much weaker than college students, maybe even stronger. Most of the technical backbone on the production line in later factories were junior high school students, while college students generally worked in management, administration, or document-related fields, which is a clear evidence. Ah! Qian let out a sigh again. Bo has watched you grow up since childhood. You have had ideas since childhood, and Bo cannot persuade you. He unscrewed the bottle cap and began pouring wine for himself, saying, since you are determined, let's take my dog leftovers and a few of them tomorrow. Dog leftovers go to the city a lot and can talk, so it can be helpful to some extent. Qi Wei snatched the wine bottle and poured it for Qian and the villagers, saying, thank you, and all the elders. Let me toast everyone. Qian and others were left to discuss who to send to follow Qi Wei to Handong, and Qi Wei walked back home along the mountain road. 3 years without seeing each other, Qi's mother was already smiling and busy making the bed for Qi Wei. And his father Qishan remained silent on the side. Going to the Qian family to drink is a man's business. Just now, Qi Wei's father Qishan was also at the table, but Qishan was quiet and honest, sitting in the corner without saying a word. Qi Wei couldn't chat with Qishan even if he wanted to. Looking at his mother with a happy smile and his father with a worried expression on his eyebrows, Qi Wei was filled with sorrow. He retained all of Qi Wei's memories and emotions, and did not have any rejection towards Qi Wei's parents because he was an orphan in his previous life. This is also an unavoidable thing, after all, only the heavenly Sha lonely star is qualified to travel. Moreover, parents' love for their children is enough to shatter any emotional barriers. Back then, Qi Wei was determined to be admitted to the teacher training program, and when he finished the assessment, the teacher said he was very confident. However, he inexplicably failed and was extremely unwilling to accept it. Silent Qishan gritted his teeth and sent Qi Wei to high school. The couple took turns selling blood to pay for the combined tuition, book, and accommodation expenses of over 500 yuan per semester. On the day Qi Wei received the college admission letter, Qi Shan's eyes were not only filled with joy, but also with despair. At that time, there was no organ transplant surgery, and Qi Shan didn't know what else he could sell in order to pay for college tuition. If we rely solely on selling blood, we won't be able to afford to have both couples drained. Fortunately, at this moment, Qian extended a helping hand with the whole village. For Qi Wei, his path of learning was completely a path of blood and tears. His parents and fellow villagers were as grateful to him as mountains. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.